Well, hello and welcome in, Alyssa Orange alongside Mike Irwin, and we've been waiting for this news for a really long time. The SEC announcing the schedule for the 2020 All-Conference season. Right now, they're just giving the openers. Arkansas will open with Georgia. Cue the storylines, right, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, I expected something like this. I mean, originally the SEC opener was supposed to be Mississippi State. You would go on the road, but I think that's a winnable game. This one probably isn't. But it will test this team right off the bat. My guess is the SEC looked at that and said, hey, there's a storyline here. You know, Sam Pittman going up against his former team, that's something we can hype at the start. But if you look at some of the other things they did, I mean, Alabama goes to Missouri. It's clearly, it looks like to me, some of the better teams are protecting them early. I'm not sure why. You got to play them sooner or later. I'm not sure why you wouldn't take some of your teams that are struggling and maybe give them time to build up toward the bigger games. But also, we don't have those other games yet, and this whole picture could make more sense if we knew what the entire schedule was.
Well, the one team we knew Arkansas wasn't going to kick off the season with was Missouri. I think everyone could have probably guessed that. I'm going to read over here what the SEC says is Mike Irwin. Alabama's going to open up with Missouri. Florida will go to Ole Miss. Georgia at Arkansas. Kentucky at Auburn. Mississippi State at LSU. Tennessee at South Carolina. And Vanderbilt at Texas A&M. The good news in all of this is that Arkansas will open up at home.
Yeah, and it looks like if you that list of games you read off, those all look like mismatches. Yeah. It looks like you took a team that's going to be heavily favored, and or the team you paired them against, they're going to be heavily favored in that game. And I don't know what the logic of that is. It could create some boring games for the opening weekend. So I'm not sure. With this idea that nobody knows how long the season could last, it might just be 3 or 4 games if there's some problems that develop. Seems like to me they'd want to get some big games on there first, get some Alabama plays LSU or whatever early in the season, but I guess they're going to save that for later.
Yeah, if you have comments, and we'd love to hear what your opinion is about the Arkansas-Georgia opener of the 2020 All-Conference schedule, let us know. I've got my Facebook up. We're live right now, obviously, on Facebook, so I've got it here. Some people saying, I expected Florida on the road. That's what Don said, and a lot of people like this. A lot of people like starting it off with Georgia.
Well, the one good thing, as you said, it's a home game, but that's not going to mean a lot with 16,000 people there. It's not like you're going to overwhelm Georgia with 16,000 people. I mean, the crowds, as long as it stays the way it is right now with what these projections are, about 25%, the fans aren't going to be a major factor in these games. It's going to be a weird season. It's going to be better than Major League Baseball with these cardboard cutouts, but the fans aren't going to be a major factor. There's no big bands playing or just drum corps during the game and all this stuff. So, again, right off the bat, you're going to get tested. So maybe that'll be good. Maybe Hog fans they probably don't expect Arkansas to win this game, but you're playing against a really good team, so let's see how well you play in that game.
If you're just joining us, the SEC just announcing that Arkansas will play Georgia at home to open up the 2020 season. Look, Sam Pittman has been great. He loves Kirby Smart. He's very respectful for his time at Georgia. He has been very nice about the addition to them on the schedule, I guess to say. But I want you to put yourself in Sam Pittman's spot right now. You just found out a few weeks ago you have to have Georgia on your schedule. Now you find out that you have to open up the schedule with Georgia.
I think he's probably taking the attitude, I was going to have to play him sooner or later, so I might as well get this out of the way. He has time to prepare for it. That's the thing. You now know who your season opener's against, and you're going to know the rest of the schedule later on. But you always typically, at some point in August camp, probably devote a little more to that first game, especially if it's a big game like this. So with his knowledge of Georgia, and that will probably give them more time to concentrate just on this game. Now, would Georgia do the same with Arkansas? I'm guessing that if Georgia's got a big game in week 2, they're going to tend not to do that. Arkansas can go all out in this game, so there are some advantages to this that I can see.
Hey, you know what? Maurice here has got a great comment. He says, I have faith in our team. Georgia will be breaking in a new QB. We will too, but, I mean, anything, I guess, Arkansas fans are looking to capitalize on.
Sure. He's not exactly new, but he's new to Arkansas, and he's coming off that injury. Nobody knows how solid he's going to be after that ankle injury, but he's looked pretty good, apparently, in walkthroughs. Now today we're going to hopefully have some video later on this evening of what he actually looked like, Felipe Franks, in today's practice, full speed.
Yeah, fall camp starting today. A lot happening today in our world, including Isaiah Joe deciding to go back to the NBA, but that's a different story for another time. Again, Arkansas will open up at Georgia. We're going to find out the rest of the schedule at 6 o'clock today on the SEC Network. They're making a big show of this. They're not like all the other conferences who just wants to tweet out a photo with some graphics about who's playing who. They're making a big show out of it, and you can understand it just means more, right, in the SEC.
Well, it's just the way they've chosen to do this. Again, I'm not going to be too critical of them because I am so happy that they've stood up and said we're going to try to play instead of caving in. Wait to see how the students coming back will affect these football programs, whether the outbreaks on campus that are absolutely going to happen, there's almost no way to avoid it, does that transfer to these football teams? And nobody, you got people out there saying absolutely it's going to ruin them. But I'm going to take the wait and see attitude, but at least the SEC is trying. And I give them an A for effort on that. So I'm not going to be too mad about them playing with us for a day, for a few hours, not letting us know what the full schedule is.
Yeah, forgive me because I don't have it written down in front of me, but I believe the last time they played Georgia was in 2014, and it was in Little Rock, I believe, and it was a home game. They lost that game, and that's the last time that they've faced off against a Georgia Bulldog team, and we've seen this Georgia team really control the East as of late. So if you're Arkansas and you're looking at this now as a team, how are you looking at this game?
Well, Barry Odom, I'm sure, is going, whoa, I'm going to get my defensive front tested really early with that big offensive line that Georgia has.
And by the way, that's Sam Pittman's fault. Barry's gonna turn to Sam and be like,
"You recruited these guys.
Really,
what are you doing to me? What are you doing to me?
Give me this offensive line to deal with." Yeah,
but that's what he's going to be concerned about. And but again, he's got now. I mean, we're 5 weeks away from this, approximately. So you got. I'm not saying that they will spend the whole 5 weeks on the Georgia game, but you could spend a couple of weeks longer than you normally do for an opponent. When you got down to 2 weeks before the season opener, you could say, okay, we're going to start working exclusively against Georgia, and we're going to be ready for them. We now win the game. And here's, again, what I think is going to happen with the fan base. They don't go in expecting you to win that game. They don't want you to get embarrassed. They don't want you to look like you don't belong on the field with those guys. They don't want any traces of Chad Morrisism, where you're just, bah.
Can you use that phrase throughout the whole season?
Chad
Morrisisms?
Yeah, it's terrible.
We'll just call bad plays Chad Morrisisms. Okay, so some more comments we're getting. There's no tape on Arkansas. That's what Tori Burke says. This is probably our best chance at an upset. Excellent setup for a very competitive game. Just wait.
Well, that's absolutely true because you're changing your offense, you're changing your defense. What they're going to have to look at, Georgia, is what Kendall Browse tends to do, what Barry Odom tends to do as a defensive coordinator, and try to figure that out. But then it's hard to sort of work that into Arkansas's personnel. They just don't know. And you don't know about Felipe Franks. This guy in 2018 was fabulous.
Yeah.
Then he started off kind of rough, but it was early in the season, and you don't want to say he had a bad season because he got injured early in the year, and Florida wasn't playing very well around him either. I thought if you go to that Kentucky game when he got hurt, I thought he was playing pretty well under the circumstances. They just didn't give him any time to do anything, and he just got, hammered on that one play where he hurt his ankle and ended up having surgery. So, this guy, if he comes back and plays the way he did in 2018, maybe he's even more mature and more physical, he can make a real difference on this football team. Yeah,
I think exactly. David here says Frank's got to turn it loose against Georgia. Of course, Frank's coming from Florida and the Florida-Georgia game.
Right. He's got experience in that game.
He's played against them as well, as I completely agree. I'm going to read through some more of these comments. So that game, Beth wants to know when we play Georgia. That first game, the first week of the SEC schedule is September 26th. Game times have not been announced right now. We just know who the opponent is going to be. Again, it is an all SEC conference, 10 games starting on September 26th. That will be, again, a home game for Arkansas. I'm continuing to read some of these comments. And it looks like, and I'm sorry, I apologize. Michelle Stevens here says, I can't leave my phone alone. How disrespectful. But Michelle, I'm reading your comments on Facebook, so that's part of my job.
She's not being disrespectful. She's doing her job here.
So I apologize. I am not being rude. That's what I am. I'm reading your comments on Facebook, so I didn't clarify that, and I have now. So hopefully everybody isn't mad at me anymore. But when you look at what Arkansas is getting and the changes that are being made to this 2020 schedule in terms for fans, you're going to get Georgia the first weekend. If this was any other year except for COVID-19, this would get blown out of the water. They'd have Hogtown amped up, tailgating would be there.
Because you're playing a huge game right off the bat.
And now you're stripped down to no hog walk, no running through the A. There's not going to be any tailgating. At least 17,000 fans at the most are going to be in those stands. It's going to be a different environment. This isn't going to be a normal, we're going to take down this SEC East opponent in this big Razorback stadium.
It's got to almost all be the players. Yeah. You're not going to get motivated. And this is true of all of these games this year. I don't see any, you can turn this around in places where Arkansas is going to have to go to play. I think they go to Auburn, for instance. Auburn is a very tough place to play. It's an 87,000 seat stadium with very loud, committed fans. Yeah. Well, now it's going to be reduced to probably 23,000. It's not going to have the same effect. So you're going to have situations like that when you go on the road. It's not going to be as tough from a crowd standpoint. This season, if they play it, the whole season is going to be more about coaching and internal motivation and how you handle yourself rather than getting motivated by some crowd that's there, to lift you up.
Yeah, I see a lot of people asking about tickets and season tickets, and I know that Arkansas has stopped selling single game tickets for the whole entire season, and they're looking at their season tickets. Again, we just said I think 17,000 at the most right now is where they're at in phase 2, and that's Arkansas guidelines. And they've said about 33,000 season tickets have been sold. So what the university is trying to do is to make it so that season ticket holders are picking games that they're going to.
Yeah, they want you to rotate. You can't go to all of them. So pick the games you want to go to, and we'll do the best to accommodate you. But again, if you've got 30,000 season ticket holders and you may have 16 or 17,000 in a game, there's no way all of those can go to a game, so they're going to have to rotate. You can't go to all the games, even if and some people may not want to. And I think they're going to get some people to cancel out, so it may help a little bit. But this is just an unusual situation that they're having to deal with.
Yeah, I like Benjamin Jacobs' comment. He says the biggest thing we have going for us is that no one knows what we look like and what our team is capable of. This team is hungry and focused and has a huge chance to catch some people off guard.
Well, we got a question earlier on Ask Mike segment that we do every Monday about how many 11 a.m. games do you think we'll have this year? And we haven't been given times for even this game. I think we eventually will. And what happens typically in a year, and when the season starts and you announce a schedule, you may get a time for the first game, maybe even the second game. But after that, the networks want to be able to reserve the right to pick and choose who goes where based on how they're playing. So the answer to that question, how many 11 a.m. games is Arkansas going to be in, it's up to them. If they start playing well, what if they go out and really play Georgia tough, then the next game and the next game, and all of a sudden they develop a reputation where this team's a lot better than we thought they were. Then all of a sudden you become a better draw for an afternoon game, maybe even an evening game. So it is up to them what they do with this season. Danielle
asking if it'll be televised, and we know that all games are televised. We just don't know what network it's going to be on, what time it's going to be at, and it could be on the SEC network or on ESPN or on CBS. We just don't know that. But the good news is all of these games will be televised, and so that's good news for you, Danielle. Adam wants to know what you see our record as, and again, a 10-game season. What do you think when you look at who Arkansas has on the schedule? I'm just guessing without having seen any of these guys do anything together as a group under this new coaching staff. I'm going to say there are 4 winnable games out there. Doesn't mean they will win 4, and they might win more than 4, but I would say right now 4 winnable games. I'm looking at Missouri as a winnable game. Mississippi State is a winnable game. Ole Miss possibly is a winnable game. And then I think A&M may be a winnable game. Yeah, those are the 4 that I have. I've kind of stuck with 4 right now as well in this 10-win season. Again, if you're just joining us, excuse me, Or if you came in late, Arkansas will be playing Georgia to start the season in 2020. We have not gotten the rest of the schedule. The SEC will be announcing that on the SEC Network at 6 o'clock, but when we do, we will let you know. Mike Irwin, Alyssa Orange, thanks for watching this Pig Trail Nation update, and we'll see you later.
Thanks for watching this Pig Trail Nation report.